Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 198. We are going to discuss The Wolfman, released in 2010. I rented this from Amazon Prime, and I had seen this before. As always, we begin with the prominent crew and cast. You can find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. This film was directed by Joe Johnston, written by Andrew Kevin Walker, David Self, and Kurt Siodmak. The effects were by Rick Baker and a very big team of talented makeup and digital artists. Joe Johnston initially studied industrial design. His career took a pivotal turn when he answered an ad seeking illustrators and joined George Lucas's team at Industrial Light and Magic. Johnston became a key figure in concept art and design, contributing to iconic elements of the original Star Wars trilogy, including designs for characters like Boba Fett and vehicles such as the Millennium Falcon, X-Wings, and the AT-AT Walkers. He was an art director and visual effects artist on Raiders of the Lost Ark, for which he shared an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. Encouraged by Lucas, Johnston transitioned to directing. He made his feature directorial debut with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, a box office hit showcasing his expertise in blending practical effects with storytelling. He followed with the cult favorite The Rocketeer and the blockbuster Jumanji. Other notable films include October Sky, Jurassic Park 3, The Wolfman, and Captain America: The First Avenger. Andrew Kevin Walker worked at a New York City Tower Records store while pursuing screenwriting. During this period, he wrote his breakthrough spec script, 7. Following that success, he wrote 8mm and Sleepy Hollow. His collaborations with David Fincher continued decades later with an episode of Love, Death, and Robots. Other works include the story for Metalocalypse, Army of the Doomstar. David Self began his career with an entry-level job at Walt Disney Pictures in 1994. His breakthrough came with the screenplay for The Haunting. He followed with 13 Days and Road to Perdition. Kurt Siodmak gets credit here for writing the original screenplay. You can learn more about him in that episode. I first covered Rick Baker when discussing An American Werewolf in London. Rick gets to be on screen this time as one of the first gypsy victims. He and his team won the Oscar for this film again. The cast includes Benicio del Toro as Lawrence Talbot, Anthony Hopkins as Sir John Talbot, Simon Merrills as Ben Talbot, Emily Blunt as Gwen Conliffe, Geraldine Chaplin as Mileva, Rick Baker as the Gypsy Man first killed, Hugo Weaving as Aberline, and Anthony Scher as Dr. Honegger. This is a star-studded cast, so this will take a bit. Benicio del Toro initially studied business, but an acting class shifted his path. He began his career with guest roles on TV shows like Miami Vice and made his film debut in Big Top Pee-wee. At age 21, he appeared in the James Bond film License to Kill. Supporting parts followed in films like The Usual Suspects. His breakthrough came with Traffic, winning him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He received another Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor for 21 Grams. Del Toro's versatility shone in diverse projects: Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Snatch, Sin City, and Che, which earned him the Best Actor prize at Cannes. A lifelong fan of the original Universal monster films, he collects memorabilia. Del Toro both starred in and produced The Wolfman, playing the tormented Lawrence Talbot. Later credits include The Collector in the MCU, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and Sicario and its sequel. Recently, he's joined Wes Anderson's crew in The French Dispatch and The Phoenician Scheme. Sir Anthony Hopkins made his professional stage debut in 1960 and joined Laurence Olivier's National Theatre in 1965, where he quickly rose to prominence. Early notable screen roles included The Lion in Winter. His career exploded with iconic portrayals of intensity and menace: Captain Bligh in The Bounty and the cannibalistic Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs, which earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor in a mere 16 minutes of screen time. He reprised that role in the sequel Hannibal and the prequel Red Dragon. Other highlights include The Remains of the Day, Shadowlands, Nixon, Hitchcock, and The Father, for which he won a second Oscar at the age of 83, becoming the oldest Best Actor winner. Hopkins has also earned 4 BAFTA awards, 2 Primetime Emmys, a Laurence Olivier Award, and numerous other honors, including a knighthood from Queen Elizabeth II in 1993 for services to the arts. Most of his career has been in film, but he has also made a notable television appearance on Westworld. Beyond acting, he composes music, paints, and has directed film. Simon Merrills is the elder brother of fellow actor Jason Merrills by 3 years. After driving a minicab and working as a painter, Merrills built his early career on stage, appearing in On the Waterfront and Much Ado About Nothing, as well as various guest roles in British TV series starting in the 90s, including series like Family Affairs. Merrill's gained wider recognition through recurring and supporting parts in genre television. He appeared in shows such as The Tomorrow People, Good Omens, and Nightfall. His breakout high-profile role came in 2013 on the final season of Spartacus. Emily Blunt overcame a severe childhood stammer through acting. She made her professional stage debut opposite Judi Dench in a production of The Royal Family and earned early praise for her Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. Blunt transitioned to screen work with her film debut in the British drama My Summer of Love. She gained more attention with her role in the TV movie Gideon's Daughter. Her breakthrough came as the snarky, high-strung assistant Emily Charlton in The Devil Wears Prada. She jumped to leading roles in the period drama The Young Victoria. Blunt's career has since encompassed a wide variety of acclaimed performances: sci-fi action Edge of Tomorrow, musical fantasy Into the Woods, the thriller Sicario, horror A Quiet Place and its sequel, directed by her husband John Krasinski, whom she married in 2010, and the biography Oppenheimer, for which she earned her first Academy Award nomination as Best Supporting Actress for her role as Kitty Oppenheimer. She also starred in Mary Poppins Returns, The Fall Guy, and numerous other projects. Geraldine Chaplin is the daughter of legendary silent film icon and filmmaker Charlie Chaplin, with his fourth wife, Iona O'Neill, daughter of playwright Eugene O'Neill. As the first of Charlie Chaplin's 8 children with Iona, Geraldine grew up in a renowned artistic family but forged her own path independent of her father's immense shadow. Initially aspiring to be a professional ballerina, she shifted to acting after realizing that she would not reach the highest echelons of dance. She made an uncredited appearance as a child in her father's film Limelight in 1952. Her breakthrough came with her English language acting debut as Tanya in David Lean's epic Dr. Zhivago. This launched a remarkable international career with prominent roles in Nashville, Welcome to LA, and Remember My Name. Fluent in Spanish and French, on top of English, Chaplin performed in Cría Cuervos, Elisa, Vida Mía, and Mama Cumple 100 Años, Les Unes es les Atres, La Vie est un roman, and L'amour par terre. In 1992, she poignantly portrayed her own grandmother, Hannah Chaplin, in the biopic Chaplin, starring Robert Downey Jr. as her father. Other notable credits include The Age of Innocence, Home for the Holidays, Talk to Her, and Jane Eyre. She has also appeared on television, including as Wallace Simpson in The Crown. Chaplin has amassed over 150 film credits, blending prestige art house work with occasional mainstream projects. She has 2 children, including actress Iona Chaplin. Now in her 80s, she remains active and continues to perform. Hugo Weaving began his career in Australian TV and theatre, gaining early attention with the miniseries Bloodline. He rose to prominence in Australian cinema with acclaimed roles in Proof and the international hit The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. His deep, resonant voice led to voice roles, including Rex the Sheepdog in Babe and its sequel. Weaving achieved global fame with blockbuster franchises, as the relentless Agent Smith in the Matrix trilogy, the wise Elf Lord Elrond in the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, the masked revolutionary V in V for Vendetta, voicing Megatron in the Transformers films, and Johann Schmidt, aka the Red Skull, in Captain America the First Avenger. Weaving has balanced mainstream blockbusters with independent Australian films like Little Fish and Oranges and Sunshine. He's lived with epilepsy since age 13, which has influenced personal choices, such as never obtaining a driver's license, and he advocates for epilepsy awareness. Sir Anthony Sher began his professional career in British theatre, joining the Royal Shakespeare Company in 1982, where he became a leading figure for nearly 4 decades. His breakthrough came with an iconic, physically daring performance as Richard III in 1984, using crutches to create a spider-like presence that earned him a Laurence Olivier Award for Best Actor, and to redefine the role for the future. He went on to deliver acclaimed interpretations of characters like Shylock in The Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, Falstaff in Henry IV, and King Lear. On-screen notable credits include Shakespeare in Love, Mrs. Brown, and television roles in The Jury and God on Trial. Beyond acting, Sher was a multifaceted artist. He wrote novels like Middlepost and The Indoor Boy, plays, and acclaimed memoirs such as Year of the Mad Hatter about his Richard III preparations and the autobiography Beside Myself. He also paints and drew, often documenting his roles. I really think this is well worth a watch. I mean, look, watch the original first, of course, but this has a lot going on for it, particularly if you're into Gothic horror or just classic monster revivals. It's not perfect. The production did have some issues, leading to a somewhat uneven pace, but the atmosphere, the makeup, the cast, they all make it a solid entry in the werewolf canon. This is a prime example of how a good movie can stumble out of the gate and earn an undeserved reputation. You knew it would happen eventually. They remade Universal's 1941 The Wolfman, which basically codified the modern cinematic werewolf myth, including silver bullets, full moon transformations, and the whole tragic curse thing. There are changes. The 2010 version shifts the setting to 1891 England for a more Victorian Gothic feel, and it also makes it more contemporary to the original Dracula film setting. It amps up the gore significantly, an obvious change resulting from being made well after the abolishment of the Hays Code, which took the kid gloves off horror movies. It adds significant backstory to Sir John and dives deeper into the Talbot family trauma through Lawrence's childhood and his mother's death. There is a major change in who kills Lawrence, which brings elements from certain sequels and is expanded upon in the Paul Naschy movies inspired by Chaney's original. Production was notoriously troubled, with multiple delays, reshoots, budget overruns, and even a brief composer swap before they stuck with Elfman. It was a passion project for Del Toro, who grew up loving the originals. So let's cover that synopsis. In 1891, a humanoid wolf kills Ben Talbot in the woods of Blackmore, England. Ben's fiancée, Gwen Conlift, reaches out to his estranged brother Lawrence for help. Lawrence, now a famous actor, returns home and reunites with his father, Sir John. Some locals believe the animal is a wild animal, but most blame the Romani camped outside Blackmore. One man claims there was a similar murder 25 years earlier and described a werewolf as the killer. Lawrence dreams of a childhood memory and seeing his mother, Solana, dead by suicide, with his father standing over her corpse. He consequently suffered from delusions and was sent to Lambeth Hospital for the mentally ill in London for a year. Lawrence visits the Romani camp during a full moon. Constable Nye leads the townspeople in a raid on their camp to confiscate a dancing bear, whom they believe to be the killer. The werewolf attacks the camp, kills Nye, several Romani, a few townspeople, bites Lawrence, and then escapes. Maleva, a Romani woman, sutures up Lawrence's wounds. Another Romani woman insists that Lawrence should be killed before he kills others. Maleva reveals that only a loved one can release him. Lawrence recovers with unnatural speed and develops great vitality and heightened senses. Inspector Francis Aberline arrives to investigate and suspects Lawrence is responsible based on his mental illness history. Terrified he will harm Gwen, Lawrence sends her away to London. He follows Sir John to Solana's crypt. There, Sir John locks him in and gives Lawrence a cryptic warning. Lawrence turns into a werewolf, then runs into the woods and kills several hunters who find their ambush turned on them. In the morning, Aberline and the police arrest Lawrence. He is returned to Lambeth and subjected to hellish treatments, both mental and physical, overseen by Dr. Honegger. Sir John visits his son, explaining that 25 years ago he was bitten by a boy infected with lycanthropy while on a hunting expedition in the Hindu Kush in India. Sir John murdered his wife, Solana. He is the werewolf who bit Lawrence and is responsible for the recent murders, including his other son, Ben. He contemplated suicide for a year. His manservant, Singh, locked him away every full moon. But now, completely insane, Sir John has embraced his condition and decided to let himself run free during his transformation. Knowing the moon will be full, he leaves the same razor he used on Solana in case Lawrence decides to end it all. That evening, Dr. Honegger conducts a lecture with Lawrence as a live case study. Lawrence warns the attendees that he will kill them, but it's to no avail. Transforming again, Lawrence kills a few doctors before getting Honegger. He escapes the hospital and goes on a right proper rampage. Aberline witnesses the whole thing and realizes now what they are up against. The next day, Lawrence visits Gwen's antique shop and asks for help. They confess they love each other and kiss. Aberline shows up, hoping to take Lawrence into custody while he's human. Smart man. Lawrence sneaks away. Gwen searches for Maleva, hoping to find a cure. Maleva says there is no cure and that Gwen must kill Lawrence herself. Aberline suspects Lawrence will return home, so he arms himself and his posse with silver bullets and sets up a perimeter around Talbot Hall. Lawrence sneaks through to find Sir John has killed Singh and one of Aberline's men. He loads a gun with Singh's silver bullets and confronts Sir John. When the gun misfires, he realizes Sir John had removed the gunpowder from the cartridges. The full moon rises and the pair transform into werewolves. They tear into each other and set Talbot Hall on fire. Lawrence sets Sir John ablaze and then decapitates his father. Gwen and Aberline arrive. Gwen deflects Aberline's shot to protect Lawrence. Lawrence attacks Aberline, biting him in the shoulder. Gwen picks up Aberline's pistol and flees into the woods. Lawrence pursues her and corners her above a gorge. She pleads with Lawrence. He recognizes her and spares her life. The police are closing in, forcing Gwen to accept what will happen when they catch him. Lawrence is distracted, allowing Gwen to recover Aberline's gun and shoot Lawrence in the heart. Lawrence reverts back to his human form, thanking Gwen for setting him free, and dies in her lap. Aberline watches in horror as the full moon comes into view. As Talbot Hall burns, the werewolf's howl is heard one last time. The transformations by Rick Baker's crew are a highlight. There are 4, 3 for Lawrence and 1 for Sir John. But you can also categorize them by the historical werewolf transformation that they're paying homage to. The first 2 Lawrence transformations build upon Rick Baker's groundbreaking work in An American Werewolf in London, but this time Baker is working with CGI artists to blend the effects seamlessly. It's hard to know where traditional hands off to digital and vice versa. The Sir John transformation feels like an homage to the traditional static dissolves from back in Lon Chaney Jr.'s day with a strong CGI assist. Perhaps as an acknowledgement of Anthony Hopkins' age, we see him lying on his back while the transformation sprouts on his face. Sir John's look is reminiscent of Oliver Reed's look in The Curse of the Werewolf. The final Lawrence transformation reminds me of many of the Texas Switch transformations we saw back in the 60s and 70s. Rick Baker's practical makeup shines in the close-ups. Fur sprouting, bones cracking, face elongating, with a CGI assist helping for the full body shifts and more fluid movements. It's gruesome and detailed, showing the pain and horror of the change, unlike some smoother modern CGI werewolves. The London Rampage sequence is chaotic and bloody, really leaning into the monster's power. I really dug it. It builds on the old Universal look, but it doesn't limit itself to the old technology. He's a bigger and fiercer version of Jack Pierce's original design brought to life. The film sticks very close to classic lore. Curse via a bite, full moon trigger, silver vulnerability, gypsy warnings from Maleva. But it places more emphasis on the beast within as a hereditary curse tied to family trauma rather than just random bad luck, which is what the first movie is. It's less about accidental infection and more about inherited darkness. So let's talk about inherited darkness. In this remake of the Wolfman, lycanthropy functions as more than just a gothic monster movie device. It's a metaphor for the beast that every person carries inside, the repressed rage, buried trauma, and irreconcilable duality of human nature. And for the way that the beast is most often transmitted not through bites, but through bloodline. Lawrence Talbot contracts a supernatural curse, but he also inherits it psychologically from a father who had already surrendered to the monster within. The film opens with a father murdering his son, even if we don't know it yet, and then rewinds to the moment defining Lawrence's entire existence. As a child, he witnessed his father, Sir John Talbot, standing over his mother's corpse. Lawrence knows, always did, on some level, what happened. He may not know the details, but he understands his mom is dead, and his dad is responsible. He's buried it deep in his subconscious, with the help of Dr. Honegger. He ran away from that knowledge and fled to America. Coming home allows Sir John to finish the process he began decades ago by infecting Lawrence with the bite. Every transformation is therefore doubled. Physical agony as bones crack and fur erupts, and psychic detonation as the long-buried memories of paternal violence claw their way to the surface. The wolf is the part of him that has been waiting, locked away since childhood, for permission to emerge. This internal duality is rendered with clarity through the contrasting responses of father and son to the same affliction. Lawrence's changes are torture, slow motion sequences showing muscles tearing, spines arching, jaws elongating, and screams of protest. He fights the beast, loathes it, begs for release from it. Sir John presumably started that way, but he comes to embrace his own lycanthropy with relish. The hunter in Sir John accepts the wolf. The same curse, the same infected blood, produce 2 opposite destinies. One man is destroyed by his refusal to accept the monster. The other is perfected by his gleeful embrace of it. The asylum sequence makes this metaphor clear. Strapped down, electrocuted, and plunged into ice baths, Lawrence is informed by Victorian doctors that his delusions of transformation can be cured through science and restraint. Society does not fear the werewolf so much as it fears the man who admits the werewolf already lives inside him. By diagnosing Lawrence as mad, the institution attempts to quarantine that darkness. The film refuses the quarantine. When Lawrence's eyes glow amber under the rising moon, the beast is revealed as an inheritance instead of an intruder. The curse is patrilineal poison. Sir John murdered his wife, then permitted Lawrence to carry the trauma as unexplained horror rather than acknowledge the crime. The bite that infects Lawrence is the supernatural formalization of an abuse cycle that began earlier. Returning to Talbot Hall as an adult, Lawrence walks back into the original scene of violence. Every shadowed corridor, every ancestral portrait, every silver object is silent testimony that the father has always been the monster. The climactic confrontation between father and son is both cathartic and devastating. As wolves, they tear through the burning manor in a frenzy of claws and firelight. Sir John exults in the destruction. Lawrence fights for survival and for refusal. He will not become his father. In the end, Lawrence tears off Sir John's head, an act that is both patricide and self-condemnation. The cycle isn't broken. It's simply handed forward. The film does not close with redemption, but with Lawrence dying as well. But not before biting Aberline and passing the curse on. Now let's delve deeper into what this film has to say about science and its relationship to superstition. Inspector Aberline arrives in Blackmore armed with Scotland Yard forensics, fingerprint kits, and a Victorian belief that evil can be measured, weighed, and imprisoned. Dr. Honegger wields electricity and laudanum like holy water. Both represent the same desperate Enlightenment project, to drag the werewolf into the light of reason and prove that it's only madness wearing a fur coat. The film nicely dismantles that project. Mileva is the voice of the old world. Her warnings are blunt, folkloric, and correct. When she tells Gwen there is no cure for the Wolfman, she's stating a fact that science refuses to hear. Every time a doctor or a policeman dismisses lycanthropy as ignorant superstition, the moon rises and another body is found eviscerated. The irony is that the primitive gypsies understand the nature of man far better than the educated men in white coats. The asylum's treatments do not exorcise the beast. They only make Lawrence's transformations more violent and more uncontrollable. By the climax, Honegger is dead, and Aberline has seen too much. His rational worldview collapses in the same burning manner where father and son tear each other apart. His fearful gaze at the full moon hanging over him like an anvil marks the victory of the ancient over the modern. Superstition was never superstition. It was the name rational men gave to truths that they were too afraid to face. That the beast is real, and that no amount of electricity or silver nitrate can ever cauterize the darkness we carry in our blood. In The Wolfman, science does not conquer the monster, it merely gives the monster better lighting. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan to discuss The Hair of the Beast from 2010. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.